So, Mili, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. So, yes, I'm born in Argentina, grew up in Peru. Anybody have been in Peru? There you go. But you're from South America, though. So, yeah. So, and yes, I've been living in England for 26 years now. Right, so let's talk very fast a bit about me. So, oh, what happened there? Oh, that's okay. I use Windows and they use iOS. There you go. You should be using Windows. So, in 1996, I created my first company. It was actually fixing computers. I was very curious about fixing stuff when I was very young. And the company still exists in Peru. In 2004, after I did uni, I studied computer science in England. I went to work for Belkin in the European Center. Anybody knows Belkin? No? Oh, okay. It's, you know, your routers that you have in your home and the cables and Bluetooth stuff. It's Belkin. Yeah, you know Belkin? Yeah. In England, everybody knows Belkin. And then I went to be a Windows and Unix administrator in 2007. And that was a very stressful job, as you can see here. Actually, my first day at work, they put me in the server room, and they said, "Do you see that mess? That's your first job. Fix it." And yeah, I was actually looking for a picture of me sitting on the floor with lots of cables, because that was my first day at work. I worked for Siemens in Cambridge until 2010. And in 2010, I had the crazy idea of becoming a specialist on social media. Twitter, Facebook, all the stuff that was there. And that's how my career in marketing began. Now, the difference with me and the marketeers that I was trying to make, you know how most IT people don't like marketeers, right? Are there any marketeers here? No? Okay, good. One? All right. So the difference I wanted to make was that I tried to be the technical part of marketing. So that's how I got into SEO, web design, and all the back-end part of marketing, right? So that's a bit about me. Today I'm going to talk about artificial intelligence. But one thing is, Dennis, where's Dennis? Oh, there you are. He started actually with AI perfectly for me because actually he talked about the part that I didn't have the time to talk about. So you introduced perfectly what I'm going to talk about. So let's see what I'm actually going to talk about. Right, so that was the previous presentation. I sent another one. That's okay. No worries. Happens. No, it's okay. So what I'm going to talk about is basically, you know, artificial intelligence. Anybody has a virtual assistant, an artificial intelligence assistant in your phone? One person. Right, okay. 3. Right. I use somebody called Monica. I suggest you use it. It's great. So basically, Monica puts many AI tools together, like ChatGPT, Bard, Cloud Plus, Bing, Google, everything. And he puts it all together. So when you actually ask a question, you can ask a question talking or by text. And when you ask a question, she looks everywhere. She asks all the chats, what's the answer? And many tools like that are coming out right now. Many. Like Monica, there's Philip, and there's lots of other different ones. And when you ask Monica something, okay, so here, I asked Monica, what are all the languages, or the top languages, to do web design, right? And she answered HTML, CSS, blah, 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 blah. And unfortunately, I don't know if you can see what it says here. It says source. And it says 1 and 2, right? So when she answers the questions, she tells you the source. It has to, because copywriting and everything else. So tools like this, not necessarily, if you go to ChatGPT, it won't do it. But if you use a tool that uses other chats, it normally does this. So what happens when you press on the source? Do you know what happens? it tells you the reference. It says, I took that piece of information from that source. And when you press on the source, there is your website, right? So this is basically having content that AIs will use as source in your website, okay? So it's not just about asking, oh, who's the best web designer in Opatija, or Patilla, or Patia. It's not about that. I didn't want to talk about how you can be found on AI when they ask for your services. No, I was talking about something deeper, that actually your content can be used as source on AI. Wouldn't that be great? Yes, so people will click. Where is that reference from? On my website PSN. So we have two. We have number one and two. The second one is this website. As you can see, they are not HubSpot or, I don't know. What I mean is heavy traffic websites. These are just blogs, literally, or blogs part of a website. So you don't have to be HubSpot to be appearing in an AI search, right? So this is exactly what I'm going to talk about. How do you do in your website, what do you do in your website to actually have your content found as source of the results, okay? And we're going to have an exercise as well, where I'm going to ask everybody to be part of. So this is an example of what happened to me yesterday, right? Just because, you know, Google says they use AI for the search, right? Yes, they do. But the answer you get is completely different. So I asked Google, where can I buy nail polish in Opatija? Okay? And Google answered that. It gave me the map and the companies. When I asked Monica the same question, she gave me several places, and then say, which one is closest to the Ambassador Hotel in Opatija? The closest store in the Ambassador Hotel in Opatija will be this one, and I went there and bought my nail polish. Okay? So I just want you to understand that Google might use AI, but it still answers like the search engine that we know, right? While Monica will give me the information of the companies, and even more, here, you know, it's a bunch of shops, but here it's telling me, you know, I'm asking, I'm able to ask that question, because if I ask Google, what's the closest to the Ambassador, it will give me the map. It won't actually answer my question. Okay? So basically, I want you to start understanding how AI chatbots, because this is about chatbots, not AI in general, how they actually capture the information in a very different way than traditional search engines, even if they use artificial intelligence. So, AI chatbots use NLP, which is not neurological programming. It's actually natural language processing. I keep getting confused about that. And natural language processing is basically how we communicate. Now, let's talk about how we search on Google. So we are the main searchers in search engines, while when we use an AI chatbot, we are not the ones searching. We're the ones asking the question. But then the AI is actually searching, right? So for the AI to search the way we search, AI needs structured data. And we're going to talk a lot about that, because that's what you have to mainly use in your website, right? Structured data. I can't even not pronounce it. Structured data, right? So this is a bit of what Dennis talked about in the morning. I'm not going to get very deep into it. It's very similar. So how you process data. It says here, Paris is the capital of France. It looks for Paris, Now, what's the important part of that, apart from everything that says here, is that in type says location, right? France, location, Paris, location. When you look at Paris, Paris could be Arkansas, Paris in France, or Paris Hilton, right? Well, Paris Hilton is a person. The AI doesn't know that. But because you are having the type as a location, it's going to filter it as per the location, either Arkansas or France. Then it looks for France, it looks for location, and it matches both. That's a very simple way to explain how it actually works. It's a lot more complicated than that. But that's the importance of structured data. So when you do structured data in your website, you've got to put as much detail as possible in the code for AIs to find the source of that information in your website. So we know that the AI will first look for the knowledge base. So basically, it will go to the internet, it will check for the information, and then it will store the information, so the second time can go to the data storage and look for it too. So it will look for the information that is in your website and in many others. Then it will look for what it has stored already, and then it will come up with the best answer, right? So let's see here. It's very important when you do SEO for AI tools to understand how it actually works. And this is why I have to get so detailed. So natural language processing is basically machine learning with computer science and linguistics. Now, when you say machine learning, you know, how many of us know the detail about machine learning? Or what do they mean by computer science? I studied computer science. I studied lots of stuff in computer science. So I'm just going to give you the most important details. So in machine learning, we have 3 different learning. Supervised learning, which is the training that they have given to the AIs. The unsupervised learning, which is the patterns and relationships that it's going to build. And then we have the reinforcement. Many people don't actually understand how that works. The reinforcement means that it's going to be tested many, many times to check that it's given the right answer. And it's going to be given rewards and punishment. That's how they actually train it. So the machine is going to try to get as many rewards as possible. So it's going to try to improve, improve, improve. Once it gets rewards, it stores the data. And that's a bit of very general explanation of how they train AIs. So that's the machine learning part. Now, the reward doesn't need to be by a human. You can train another AI to reward AIs, which is pretty amazing. So you end up with an AI training another AI. And it makes me think about when Dennis was saying how we're going to end up when you write an email, the AI emails you back, and your AI emails you back, and there's a moment when humans are actually not communicating anymore. So this is kind of like something that people fear, that if AIs train other AIs and they train each other, where are we going to end up, right? Well, let's not be negative about it. So computer science involves mathematical processes, models, data analysis, and computational theory. So that's basically kind of like the technical part of the learning. And then we have linguistics, which is the oldest part of it. It's just simple grammar, syntax, and phonetics. So here there's going to be a bit of a game. I'm going to explain to you what NLU is, and then I'm going to make you practice this, okay? So you don't have to just listen to me. So NLP, we know what it is. NLU, what is NLU? Natural language understanding, okay? So not every AI tool has NLU functionalities. NLU is insight, it's a subset of NLP, but not every AI tool has it. Okay, so when you use an AI, depending on the industry you work on, or the client you have, you need to understand if you need NLU or you don't. Right? So NLU is basically Intent recognition, it detects sentiment, so it knows if you're upset, complaining, or happy, and focuses on the semantics of the language. So, let's see if we understand the basics of NLP and NLU, right? So I'm going to give you a question. So if I have an FAQs bot, what do you think you need? Just NLP or NLU as well? Anybody? NLU. Are you sure? That's the tricky thing about NLP. NLP does semantics too, but to a limit. So actually, if you have an FAQs chatbot, you just need NLP. It will learn. The more people ask questions, the more it learns. And because it does a bit of semantics, it will give you the right answer. But what happens with customer support? Anybody? Come on, don't be afraid. Yes? Yes, NLU? Exactly. He needs to know first place, is he upset or is he happy? Is he going to complain or is he going to tell us a good feedback? What about claims processing? Anybody? Brave one? I heard something there. Claims processing, when you process a claim, there's a lot of emotion in it. It's okay, I can hear you and I can repeat it.
I guess if you understand what's wrong, if you can define your claim well enough.
Yeah, you still need to know if it's going to be a person that is going to be pushing the limits. So it is actually NLU. This is the type of AI you have to use when you actually implement AI in a website. So travel recommendation. Sorry? NLP? Let's see. Why? Because it's going to learn about the customer asking the questions if they actually like partying, or they like going for dinner, or they like... So it's more learning about the character and the behavior of the person more than just the information given. So mortgage rate calculator. That's an easy one. NLP, very boring, right? Sorry, any mortgage people here? So diagnostics, so medical diagnostics. That's a tricky one, right? Is it important, the emotion of the person? No. Exactly, you suffer of something whether you're happy or unhappy. So, NLP. Product recommendation. These are the AIs used in shops or in websites with services. Very important. What do you need for product recommendation? There you go. It will recommend, if I ask for the same thing that you ask, he might recommend different things to you than to me, depending how much learning you have done about me and about you. And we have risk assessment. I pressed so many times, you know now. Risk assessment is just pure mathematics. So no matter the emotions. So now let's talk about how we're going to do this. I mean, I'm sure not everybody here does web coding, right? But I'm not gonna get really, really deep into it. I just want you to understand what you need. So if you actually have someone that can do it for you, then you know what they should be doing, right? And this is so your content is used when AIs give results. Not just, I need this service and they find you. Google can do that, right? This is actually using your content as a resource. That's a lot better than just being found, because you become an authority. So keyword research. When I talk about keyword research, people think, oh, I'm going to go to keyword tool in Google and I'm going to look for the keywords that people put on Google. Of course, we're not talking about that, because here is people talking to machine. They're not necessarily typing. They're actually talking. They just want to say, hey, you know, what are the best strategies on social media? I give examples about digital marketing because I work most of the time on it. But let's say that. So I'm going to ask the question. I'm not even going to type. And second, I might just say, what are the easiest ways to automate my social media? So then you have different ways of questions, emotion, different intentions. What's my intention? To actually do it, to pay somebody to do it, to learn about. So what is going to answer? Something that I can educate myself, somebody is going to do it for me. So it's different things, right? So keyword research, use relevant keywords in your common content, right? So you're going to ask AIs. Why not? You want to know what people ask the most? Just ask the AI. Nothing like the AI tool will know what people ask, right? It's like Google says, these are the keywords most used. The AI is going to tell you, these are the questions most asked. So now try to use AI tools that combine the most chats possible. So I use Monica, for example, because it has all of them. So don't use just ChatGPT. ChatGPT is not everything. Okay, we have Bard, we have Cloud Plus. Well, Bing nowadays is pretty good as well. So look for an AI tool or recommendations. That I like Monica because Monica does video. It's artistic, so it does pictures, it does text, it will answer your emails, it will answer your WhatsApp. It literally will do anything for you. You say, I need to do a Google ad. Can you make me a picture for a Google ad about these services? And she'll make one for you. Okay, and make me a video, just like Dennis was talking about. She'll do everything for you. So that's the kind of tool you want to find. Monica is not the only one. It's about £10, which will be, I guess, 12 euros a month. But it's totally worth it. She does everything for me. She does my emails, my newsletters, my posts, my Google ads. She does my social media posts, everything, okay? So look for something like that and ask the question, what are the most popular questions asked in your industry, in your niche, or for your services? Ask your AI. What are the exact questions about, for example, printing services, people ask the AI assistant for? You can ask her anything. What are the most popular services sold by digital marketing agencies? Put them in popularity order. The more detail you give to the AI, the more information you get and the better information you get. You can actually, you know, in Google, if your question is too long, it gets lost. It just goes, I can't find. To AIs, you can ask a whole paragraph of question. And the longer the paragraph, the longer the question, the better the answer. Okay? So what do people want to know about social media marketing? Right? What keywords are best for a marketing agency in London? So you're literally asking, tell me my job. How do I do this? All right? You don't have to go and search and look around. I'm not saying to stop doing traditional SEO. No. Okay? Don't do that. What I'm saying is, if you do traditional SEO, you should be doing AI SEO too. Because you want to be found by the search engines, but you want to be found by the AIs too. And just because you do traditional, you won't be found by the AI tools. Okay? So that's number one. Well, yes, very important. Include the keywords that cover everything in your website in the homepage. Okay? So try to talk about, we're going to talk about content a lot. Try to talk about the things that you have inside in the inside pages, in the front page, very simple, maybe mention your services or anything like that, but try to have the keywords in the home page. Because AIs look really fast, and they look for the home page first. And if they think this is not the right website to look deeper into, it will just move on. So you have to convince AI that your website has the content, but maybe she will need to go a bit further in, okay? I say she because I'm used to Monica now. So, right. Optimize your meta tags. This is gonna sound very much like SEO, the one that we normally do, but this is slightly different. So, the meta tags in descriptions and titles, normally we use keywords, right? Keywords, Google keywords. Here you have to use complete sentences, right? Because you want to be conversational in everything you do on your website. So you want to use questions. Most people, 90% of what is searched on AI is questions. So you're gonna have to fill up your website with questions in every place you can think of. And meta tags is one of them. Use keywords that you have researched and the ones that you have given by AI assistants. So the search ones for Google search engines or for any search engine, and the AI assistant ones for your AI. Create compelling meta descriptions. So when we talk about meta descriptions on SEO, we talk about telling as much as what we do, right? Here is completely different. We tell what we do for the search engine, but then we want to ask questions. So these are the questions we will answer in our website. That's what you want to tell the AI. Here's the questions that we can answer, okay? Number 3, again, traditional SEO, right? Header tags. These header tags are the same ones we use in traditional SEO, but you have to make sure you use them. I've seen so many websites that come from the best SEO agencies in the world, and they don't use the header 1, 2, and 3. If you don't know what it is, just take a picture and keep it to you until you have somebody to do your SEO. So you need to have as many header tags as possible. Header tags are basically like titles, or are titles, and it will structure the data. So what we're starting to do now is we've put keywords, but now we have to structure the data. And how are we going to structure? Imagine that you come from another country that doesn't understand the type of language we do. Like, for example, China, Japan, they have a different language structure, right? The AI needs to know everything. So you need to say, this is where this information is, that is this information. So you have to be as clear as possible for it to be able to figure out if you're going to answer the question. So we're going to talk about structured data markup. So when we do HTML, I don't know how many of you know HTML. How many of you actually at least understand HTML? Put your hand up. That's great. I'm talking to the right people. Okay. So when you do HTML coding, sometimes we're a bit lazy, right? And we put just the typical tags that we always use, that we use for years. But for AI, we need to get a bit deeper than that. And that's what I'm going to explain. So what is structured data markups? I'm sure you know about it. So it's markups that you can actually tell in HTML what it is. For example, date, or title, or location, right? That's a markup. But we have different types of markup. We have JSON only, which everybody knows. You know, it's very used. Then we have microdata. Microdata is specifically good for AI because you get into the detail of what it is that you're writing. It's not just date or location or title or footer. You're actually getting deeper into it, and I'm going to have an example of it. And then we have RDFA, which most people don't use. Does anybody here has used RFA tags? No? There you go. Okay. RDFA tags are even more detailed than microdata. So we're going actually deeper and deeper. JSON LD really is like the generic tags. Microdata tells a bit more. It can take, for example, the amount of pages in a book, right? You can say pages in the book, this amount. And RDFA goes into even linking data. So you can make a tag that's actually going to link to somebody else's website or to another part of your website. So it has a lot more functionalities. And if any of you know schema.org, is actually where they give you all the tags for all three of them. So you just go there, look for the best tags, the most detailed tags, and just try to, when you write your HTML, do it as taggy as possible. So basically tag everything, okay? So let's see some examples. Microdata structured data markup. So this format is basically the slightly detailed than JSON, right? So we have an example here. So we have, if you're trying to say in your website that The Shining was written by Stephen King, because you have a website that sells books maybe, okay? So you have the name of the author, of the book, the author, the data published, and the number of pages. So normally in JSON, you will not go detailed to the number of pages, or other authors, or you can go as deep as you want. So what happens? Okay, just with this example, if I say to Monica, Monica, how many pages have The Shining? She's gonna look only into tags that say number of pages and The Shining. And how many websites will have that? Well, I'm sure Amazon might have. But if you have that, you will be in the list of database. So listen to this. She will put you in the database of websites that have the amount of pages of The Shining. She might not use you as a source, but she already tag you as a website that has that information. So you're going now in the database of the AI. And if you use Monica or any other, that's going to be shared with all the chats that there are. So you suddenly, maybe not use this time, maybe not use this next time, but suddenly you are in that source for all chats that you have the amount of pages of The Shining. Right? This is a very basic example. But do you start understanding what I mean? You don't want to just appear as source, but at least in the worst case, you want to be in the database that says these websites have that information, right? So talk about JSON. So same thing. I mean, you can do it with JSON too, but if you look into schema.org, there are some tags that actually JSON doesn't use that go deeper into the information. So it depends how deep in the information you want to go. So here we have same, data published, number of pages. Now, there's something very important and silly, okay? In different countries, like US and UK, I mean, I don't know in Croatia, I haven't checked, the date is put in a different way, right? So if you want to be found in the US, the Americas, actually the US does it different than South America, you have to put it in the right way. Because sometimes, like that one, for example, is impossible, right? It cannot be the 28th of the month. But it's the 3rd of the 1st. Is it March or is it January, right? So you have to, little things like that, you have to be very, very detailed when you do SEO for AI. And then we have RDFAs. So as it says here, it's more complex, it's more flexible, which is why it's so good, and it's more precise. Okay? So it actually, so why AIs like it? Because AIs are looking for the most precise information. And if you get so deep into the information, then it will think, this website has actually very, very precise information. Well, if you just have JSON and microdata, and you don't go deeper into, for example, property rating or reviewers, you know, I mean, this is not a very good example. I was trying to look for a very good example, but it's not. Sorry. Oh, how do you go back? So you can see here that there are things that you won't think is worth tagging. But when you want to rank on AI, everything is worth tagging because you don't know what the person is going to ask. Like, I want a pizza place that has a high rating, right? But the high rating is not necessarily what Google says with the stars. It's actually feedback. So you can actually, in reviewer here, you're telling this person specifically has given that rating. This is like the most detail you can give about feedback. So what it does is it looks for all the reviews. It looks for what it says. And then it says, actually, this company, try it on NI. It will say, most people like it because of the service, or most people like it because of the cleanliness. The AI will actually tell you not just why it was reviewed properly, but what about, okay? So that's basically about microdata. Anybody has any questions? Was it, yes? It doesn't matter, you can use all three. You can use just microdata. I mean, JSON is something that everybody uses. You can use that in microdata. It depends, it actually depends on the content you have. Like, your content has really detail, but you can use all three. And that's right. So I don't know if everybody heard what he said, but he said, like, if you use so much tagging and so much detail, you can, like, overload it. And for humans, when you search, it's actually slower and obviously more complicated. But for AI, it's not. So you actually have to find the balance depending on what type of website you have. Because there are some websites that have pretty much no content, right? But if it's a website that is a hospital or a bank or something like that, and it's heavily, having content, then you have to find the balance. Basically, what I will suggest, I mean, I've been doing SEO since it exists. I will suggest that you think what's more important. Like, this is what people search for, and this is what people search on AI for. And how do you know that? How do you know what people search on AI for? That's right, you ask the AI. So you ask the AI, what do people search the most for banks? Whatever it's going to tell you. So whatever else, you do less tagging, and you do more tagging for that services. So you have to balance it, right? Any other question? No? Oh, yes? What do you mean? Monica doesn't do coding, but you can use an AI that uses coding and tell it to use microdata, I thought you would remember the words. You can actually get an AI that does coding and say, can you tag it with all this? And it will do it. Let's say I wouldn't choose it for coding. I would choose it for very basic coding, like just to write a script, but I wouldn't use it to do a whole website. Yeah. What was, I was going to say something about that. Oh, yes. So when you say, why don't you just let her do everything? She did most of my presentation, believe me. So I just gave her the information, like the draft, and I said, hey, she put all the, all the squares, colors, she did all of it. I put some content, and then she continued with it. Yes? I think it's actually pretty good, because I tell you why it's good. So if everybody heard, some websites are blocking AIs, but if you have a company that does something, you prefer the AI to take the source from you than from the New York Times, right? So it's blocking the biggest websites for us to take the space. Do you get it? Yeah. Yeah. That's actually very simple. You can block just that space. So that information can be blocked. You don't need to block the whole website. So blocking that space of personal information, I would suggest you do. But actually, you have to give as much access as possible to the website to AI. And it's great, because when they ask about things that I teach, they can actually come to my source and instead of theirs. Because the one thing is, the AIs will choose the biggest websites first, unless you have more detailed information. But if they block the access, and I think it's a bit unrealistic as well, I think when AI becomes a bit better in security, they will have to open up, because it's the future. But right now, I understand why they do it, and I don't mind it. The more the big websites block it, the better for all of us. So now just going to go through, right. Semantic HTML, we understand that. You all do HTML, so that's very important too. Don't avoid doing this for laziness or because you think it's not important. Some people don't actually, like article, people put content. Okay, many people put content instead of article. It's important to say what it is. It's content, but content can be anything, right? So make very specific, look in schema.org and see how specific you can get about what you're writing. Now, voice optimization. How do you optimize your website to be found by AIs that use the voice? So write content that is easy to read. Short sentences. Don't write sentences with comma and comma and comma and dot. That's just complicating the process. Optimize natural language. So when you write content in your website, you've got to see this in a completely different way than you did before. I don't know if somebody did a talk about content that specifically. But now when you write content, your website has to be conversational. Questions and answers, exclamations. You want to know, you want to talk in your website like you were talking to a friend. Because the AI is going to look for that kind of sentence. It's not going to look for keywords, right? So be conversational, no formal. Nobody asks questions to an AI in a formal way. I don't think even the King of England does that, right? It will just ask silly questions, and it will ask very informal questions. So you get formal, depending on your niche, but not too formal, because you want to be friendly to the way people talk to the AI. You want to be the answer to the questions. So break the content into bullet points, headings, images, videos. Now, when you use images and videos, don't forget to tag them, okay? Most people don't use the tagging for images. They just call the image whatever it is called. No, you've got to tag it. And I love this one because it's the one that is going to be the most difficult for content creators. I think content creators have a challenge nowadays because they're going to have this dialogue optimized content. And that's very challenging. Okay, so try to optimize your content to a dialogue type. Now I'm going to, because I already should have finished, FAQs, the best for AI. Make hundreds of FAQs. Have somebody writing FAQs for you. And ask the AI, what are the most asked questions on this niche, on this service, on this industry? Okay? Ask the AI and answer every question they reply to you. What are the 100 most asked questions about this? And go and do the FAQ. Okay? This is a silly one, because I'm sure you all do. Submit website. Utilize social media. Questions. Questions, when you post a question with an answer. Questions. Questions, exclamations, conversational. And hashtags. The hashtags are less important. The questions are the most important. And I'm going to finish with Google My Business. Google My Business, obviously, you have to have Google My Business. But here's different. You've got to put FAQs, articles, detailed information about your services, And when you write about your services, ask questions. How do you do this? This is what we're going to help you to do. This is how you do it. So questions, articles, FAQs, services in questions. So you have to see Google My Business in a very different way than we used to see it. And thank you very much.